What is up, denizens of the interwebs? It's Chats here coming at you with another video, and it looks like we've got one hell of a DEI crash just waiting to happen and waiting to be discussed. That, of course, would be just so happens to be one of my favorite gaming franchises of all time, and the actual background I'm using right now, Mortal Kombat 1. The game is an absolute dumpster fire, and with the new Khaos Reigns release, and just every single negative piece around that, it's no surprise whatsoever that the game is utterly failing. And just to be clear, when I say that I am a huge Mortal Kombat fan, I mean a huge Mortal Kombat fan. I animated this wallpaper back here to have on while I was playing Mortal Kombat 1, so I could have everything around me be Mortal Kombat themed. The special collector's edition Liu Kang statue I have, even though I've always hated Liu Kang as a character. And my game time hours in Mortal Kombat X, 9, 11, 1, Injustice 1, and Injustice 2 are all over in 1 week's worth of time each, just on Xbox, not including my time on Steam. And on Steam, I exponentially increased those hours. I am a huge fan of NetherRealm Studios fighting games, and I play them religiously. I bought Mortal Kombat 1 pre-order as soon as I could afford it, which was a bit later, but then afterwards I immediately went onto the Mortal Kombat 1 subreddit and asked to see if I could pay someone to upgrade to the collector's edition and send me the collector's stuff. So I have the collector's box, I have the statuette, I have all the things that came with it, excluding the downloadable stuff because he wanted to keep that and I was okay with that. And don't get me wrong, Mortal Kombat 1 had a really amazing story for the first 2 hours, but after that it completely devolves into an absolute mess that is as aimless as Concord's character design. Everything was pointless and the story meandered and was weak and was utterly wasteful. Basically anything that happened after the gang got to Outworld is a complete waste and a complete drab to get through. The only standout characters are Kenshin, Johnny Cage, and Rain, with Rain being the only substantial change made in this DLC that's actually enjoyable whatsoever. And I'm not just saying that because he's my main. With all the changes made to Mortal Kombat 1, I was willing to give it most of a pass. While it was annoying, and while it was also shown on Kabrutus Rambo's list as a DEI detected game, which is no surprise to anyone when you see how utterly neutered the female character designs were for this game, even when compared to Mortal Kombat 11, which had the ugliest version of Sonya Blade one could even imagine. But that all came to a head when they announced Khaos Reigns, something I was excited for about 10 seconds. And that was until they announced who the villain was, being the Titan Havoc, who's just an utterly mess of a character design, and then announcing the gender swap of Sector and Cyrax. And of course, as we all know, Sector was played by Erika Ishii, the upcoming actress for the new Ghost of Yotai game, who is an absolute activist and psychopath online. You can check out my Ghost of Yotai video to see exactly the kind of comments she made. And then Mortal Kombat 1 completely bottlenecks his enjoyment by being complete and utter trash on console, as well as having absolutely no post-game content. Either you're grinding out multiplayer, which is filled with nothing but the lowest common denominator players using whatever is meta, or people who are using disconnect cheats to make it so you incur a loss and they don't. There was a period of time where for over one whole patch, an entire graphics card, anyone using the 3050 series for RTX couldn't play Mortal Kombat. It literally couldn't load. It is so poorly optimized that my Steam Deck plays it better than my, gaming laptop that I used to play everything that ran Cyberpunk before they fixed it. But it can't run Mortal Kombat at 60 frames per second because that would be too easy. And if it does somehow manage to get up there, it takes 30 minutes just to load into a single game. But then with all of the Khaos Reigns stuff, it just gets worse. The absolute disgrace that is the Cyrax, who has the worst Wakandan accent you've ever heard, that I got so annoyed by the way that they put Cyrax into this game that I unironically went and found a questionably legal Steam key for Mortal Kombat Complete Edition, just so I could end up playing the human Cyrax in that game, because I actually really liked him as a character, and I really liked his character design. I was so damn annoyed by the changes and how utterly disrespected the characters were, I spent $30 on a Steam key that might have just been a scam, just so I could play what they're supposed to be like. So, don't come in here, don't call me a tourist, don't say I'm not a huge fan of Mortal Kombat, don't say I don't like what I'm talking about, don't say I'm just talking about it for clicks. Mortal Kombat is one of my favorite franchises, and I think I am incredibly qualified to talk about the game. And that's going to lead me into someone who definitely isn't qualified, but at least they wasted their money to buy Khaos Reigns, and that's Over at the Gamer, which comments that Mortal Kombat 1's performance on PC has seemingly tanked after the latest update. After the latest update, as we just discussed, the PC performance was never there. After the release of Omni-Man, the game literally didn't run for an entire update patch until they released Quan Chi a month later. Every day I would log in, I would try literally every single fix known to man, and of course none of them worked because it wasn't an issue with my hardware, it was an issue with the game itself. So for people who bought Khaos Reigns that can't run their game at all, you just imagine how I feel, how I couldn't do that after buying the collector's edition for my computer that couldn't run the game no matter what I did. The fact that a Steam Deck, which has a screen this big, is infinitely better at running this game than any gaming laptop is, or gaming computer to that point, is absolutely ridiculous and something that should not have been at all allowed to stand. The fact that Mortal Kombat has never once made a statement about the state of the game is even more disrespectful and disingenuous. But since I'm not stupid enough to buy Khaos Reigns at full price because it is a $50 update for 3 hours of content, let's see exactly what the gamer thought about it, given the fact that they are shill media. Ooh, not even the shills like this dumpster fire of a game, this absolutely trash system that they had put out for us. Cool characters can't save middling stories, exactly how they title them, and that sounds like the absolute definition. So how do you mess up a DLC that stars Havoc, Quan Chi, Sector, Cyrax, and most importantly, Noob Saibot? Some of the coolest characters in Mortal Kombat who haven't had their fair shake as of late. How do you ruin something that focuses so heavily on those characters? I mean, up before this game, the last time we even saw Havoc was in the Mortal Kombat X webcomics that almost nobody read. Noob Saibot was in Mortal Kombat 11, but it was more of there as an afterthought. Same with Sector and Cyrax, who haven't been playable since Mortal Kombat 9, unless you count Triborg, which I don't fully count them because they lack the personality. Also, if you're playing any Triborg other than Smoke or Sub-Zero, what are you doing? This author goes and says, when Mortal Kombat 1 launched last year, I enjoyed more than most due to its refreshing combat mechanics and excellent storytelling. Now I will say, when it comes to the cameo system, I am actually quite fond of it, but I also hate it at the same time. Cameos are a terrible idea for a slew of reasons, but they do work. Due to the nature of cameos, you spend too much time trying to figure them out, and they don't really mesh very well, and there's not a whole lot of actual explanation how to use them. Some of my friends who play Mortal Kombat 1 have no idea how to use them, and I will be teaching him soon how to actually use it. So it just makes the game generally overly difficult for the sake of being difficult, but at the same time, it's really hard going back and playing, say, Injustice 2 when I don't have access to cameos just because of the sheer expansion they put in combos. But that then leads to the terrible combat design of Mortal Kombat 1, which focuses on every single combo being a 50-hit combo, or you just lose. In previous Mortal Kombat games, a single instance of hit connect is most likely going to get you 20 to 30% of the opponent's health bar, depending on how much meter you spend and what character you're playing. In Mortal Kombat 1, it's structured so that you get up at least 40% on a combo, or the combo isn't worth doing, and most of the time, those combos don't cost any meter whatsoever to perform, only half of your cameo meter, which is not a very fun system when you're playing characters like Johnny Cage, who are incredibly fast and incredibly safe, when you're playing someone like Rain, who is neither of those things. And of course, the part about storytelling is even more ridiculous because basically, as soon as Kenshi gets intimately familiar with Mileena's size, the story drops off a cliff massively. The story isn't worth doing anything after that point, and it's most certainly not worth doing anything after the introduction of the multiverse. Anything before that, when it was much more grounded and focused on the Earthrealm characters, that part was really well done, and I love those parts of the game. But anything after that really was just a bog and really ruined the story. It's like they had half a really good idea and rushed the other half. But still ended up disappointed thanks to its menagerie of post-launch issues. The lag, the transactions. I have defended Mortal Kombat 1's store on many occasions. If it wasn't for the fact that I never made a designated post, I would pull up my Reddit history. I have defended Mortal Kombat 1's microtransactions because if you don't remember Mortal Kombat X's microtransaction history, it was significantly more grueling because the stuff you got was significantly lower value for what you're actually getting in the game. For instance, classic fatality packs, if I remember correctly, were $10 for only like 5 fatalities. And while this is $10 for a universal fatality, for 3 universal fatalities, I feel like that's a better deal, and the costumes go a lot longer way than they did in that game. But still, it's still ridiculous because there's no drip feed of Dragon Crystals. Now, reportedly, Khaos Reigns actually added a drip feed for Dragon Crystals, but I haven't checked to make sure that's true because I've had no desire to go back and play that. If I want to play Mortal Kombat, I'm going back to either 9 or X, and maybe if I'm feeling spicy, 11, or just playing Injustice 2 because there's always so much to grind in that game. And then, of course, there's their post-story mode, which the name is escaping right now, That is such a slog to get through. It runs slowly, the combat gimmicks are always really boring, and the fights don't last nearly as long as it takes you to traverse the map. It's just a pointless launch, and is a pointless game mode that doesn't give you rewards worth the grind. And then, of course, because this is show media, they have to mention that this is Mortal Kombat's best story. That is a hill that I will continue to die on. How can you say that when Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe has the better story mode than this game? How can you say that when Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks exists, which, mind you, no one even knows the story beats of that game? The fact that we have Special Forces, a game that only had one memorable character in Tremor, who wasn't playable until Mortal Kombat X almost 20 years later, tells you everything you need to know. This story was shit. It was unbridled shit. It was unmitigated trash, and it's not worth even considering. Now, if you focus on everything before the multiverse part, I might actually give that to you. The colors were really great at the beginning. Johnny Cage had a really good character. Kenshi has a really interesting character. Scythe is fun. I do like this version of Scorpion, even if it isn't the original, though the original is far better. Even their characterization of Raiden is interesting, though, of course, Raiden is far better as an Elder God than some stupid farmhand. And, of course, this author actually agrees with me. By far, the least interesting part of Mortal Kombat 1's campaign was its final hour, which halted all focus on Liu Kang's fascinating new timeline to smash a bunch of variants together, like Ed Boon playing with his action figures. And this part down here seems to agree with everything that I have seen. Of course, like I said, I'm not buying Khaos Reigns until it's like $10, just so I can get the DLC fighters. But this author mentions that Noob is the only part of the expansion that feels developed. And that begs the question, how would you screw up Noob? I really would love to know how you can make Noob a bad character. Actually, no, I don't want to know, because I'm sure they'd find a way. And then this part down here just feels like the biggest slap in the face. Despite all the controversies surrounding Cyrax and Sector being gender swapped, which, of course, the controversy is stupid because the decision to do it was an idiotic one. They should have been kept their authentic characters because this new version, their combat is completely identityless. They look nothing like Sector or Cyrax. They don't play anything like them. They don't act anything like them. They are just women in Iron Man suits. That's all they are. They are literally wearing Iron Man suits. Like Sector, instead of playing out like, a flame-throwing, rocket-shooting robot, plays out like she's got the fucking Iron Spider suit on her back, and just so happens to also have bombs. And Cyrax looks like that chemist girl from Big Hero 6 lobbing around special chemical compounds that trap you in nets and bubbles. But the fact that the author says that they aren't enough of a focus in the expansion anyway, Cyrax hints at being an interesting character as she defects to the Shiryu. And Sector's romance with B... Ugh, what? You're shitting me. I didn't hear this. I didn't know that. You're kidding me. Sector and friggin' Sub-Zero. They put... Oh my god. The shippers have gone into Mortal Kombat, and it is... Well, they got there ready when we got Mileena and Tanya as a ship, which is the dumbest idea as well. But this idea is somehow dumber. Cyrax, Sector and Bihan is dumber than Mileena and Tanya. How the... Oh my lord. Oh my god. Who the hell comes up with these ideas? This is unbridled trash. So when you consider the fact that Bihan and Sector were constantly fighting for control over the Shirai Ryu in all the other timelines. And this right here is the most disgusting part. Even with how disgusting that previous part was, the DLC is $50 and 3 hours long. And the problem with that is when you compare that to Mortal Kombat 11's DLC story, which was $30 and 4 to 6 hours long, depending on your skill level and if you went back to complete all the other story paths. The only benefit that Mortal Kombat 1 brings is they had one more DLC fighter than MK11's Aftermath did. But let's be honest, the DLC fighters in this kind of suck. Ghostface, Conan the Barbarian, the T-1000, Sector, Cyrax, and Noob. Why are we getting 2 Terminators 2 games in a row? We should have gotten the T-1000 at the same time we got the T-800 in Mortal Kombat 11. Noob, Sector, and Cyrax I'm fine with getting, but I don't know why we're getting Ghostface, and Conan the Barbarian is the only one who I can see possibly being of any kind of interest in this game. And of course, let's not ignore the fact that this DLC had a massive marketing budget. I was seeing advertisements for this DLC everywhere. I couldn't avoid them as much as I tried. Now, the animalities look awesome. I appreciate IGN for posting those, because I do like to see those. But I've been trying to avoid anything about this story because it just annoys me to see how much they've bastardized my favorite brand. But everywhere I go, there's marketing. YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, advertisement upon advertisement upon advertisement for this. Playing Injustice 2 and playing the Injustice and Mortal Kombat mobile games. Watching HBO Max. I'm getting inundated with Khaos Reigns advertisements. So the advertising budget had to have been through the roof for this game. So I'm really hoping to hear when we find out how much both Mortal Kombat 1 and Khaos Reigns both cost to make, because I'm sure it is egregious. But even with all of the advertising going on, they failed to even advertise the fact that they're bringing back one of the few things that would actually excite a player like me. The fact that I had to find this on Kotaku was absolutely depressing, but apparently they brought Towers of Time back. Now, Towers of Time was their post-game content in Mortal Kombat 11, which is just the multiverse from Injustice 2, which is just fighting a bunch of fights and grinding out gears, experience, and consumables. It's low-level content, but it tests your skill in a much better way than Conquest Mode did, and it's much more engaging and fun, and it's quicker. It has a quicker turnaround, and there's constant repeatability because it's always cycling through new fight sets. So, given the fact that that's something that people still grind on Mortal Kombat 11, how is it that they failed so drastically to advertise the fact that this was coming back? But of course, going back to that idea that Mortal Kombat 11 is being played so much, what about other fighting games? Well, it looks like Mortal Kombat 1 has been absolutely embarrassed this year's launch of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Now, I will be honest, I don't give a damn about Dragon Ball. I've never watched it. I've seen some episodes of Dragon Ball Z, probably. I've seen some clips that are pretty funny, and I was admittedly torn up when Akira died, only because of the effect he had on everyone else around me. But this is an absolute explosive result. Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero has a huge early access launch with over 91,000 peak concurrent players and very positive reviews. I mean, getting that number of concurrent players is absolutely boggling. That's better than Marvel Rivals did, that's better than Concord did, and of course that's better than all of the fighting game releases of last year put together. And what about those fighting games we had last year? We had 3 major releases last year. We had Mortal Kombat 1, Street Fighter 6, and Tekken 8, all launched last year. So how are those games doing now? And especially, how is Mortal Kombat 1 doing? Because all of those games have had DLC pushes that have come out with new fighters, though Mortal Kombat 1 is the only one with a story expansion. Ooh, it is not looking good for any of them. The only one on this list, other than Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, which has 91,005 all-time peak players, 24-hour peak of 70,000, and concurrent peak of 56,000 players. The next best is Street Fighter 6. So I guess Street Fighter 6 had a much better concurrent all-time peak than I thought, with 70,000. Tekken 8 had an all-time of 49. Now Street Fighter 6 is sitting at 10,000 and Tekken 8 is sitting at 6,000. Guilty Gear, which is a game that is an indie anime fighter, that's the best I can describe it as, is doing even better than Mortal Kombat 1. With Guilty Gear sitting at 1,800 and Mortal Kombat 1 sitting at 1,500. That is an absolute embarrassment. And the 24-hour peak for Guilty Gear is an additional 600 players more than Mortal Kombat 1 had. Now, Mortal Kombat did have an all-time peak that was higher at 38,000 compared to Guilty Gear Strive's 31,000, but Mortal Kombat 1 barely even stands up to Mortal Kombat 11. The last game that came out about 5 years ago is still somehow embarrassing Mortal Kombat 1, which is crazy because Mortal Kombat 11 was not received well at all at launch or even afterwards. Because while Mortal Kombat 1 had an all-time peak of 38,000, Mortal Kombat 11 had an all-time peak of 35,000. And in the 24-hour peak, Mortal Kombat 1 has only had a 24-hour peak of 200 more than Mortal Kombat 11 did. And of course, it does have a higher current player count, because I assume that's mostly Combat League. I doubt there are nearly as many people grinding MK11's Combat League, though I'm sure there still are people. Now, the only one on this list that actually surprises me is Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics is not doing well at all, with an all-time peak of 6,000, 24-hour peak of 474, and concurrent of 433. That game is doing it far worse than I had expected it to. So, to absolutely no one's surprise, Mortal Kombat 1 is not doing too hot. It's absolutely crapped the bed, and Sparking Zero has absolutely put a nail in its coffin. Because as much as I don't care about Dragon Ball, Sparking Zero does look like an amazing game. Excellent combat, it seems. A great story, it seems. The ability to make your own episodes is insanely cool. The combat looks smooth. The character selection looks amazing. It looks like an even better version of the Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm games, which I actually really like. So I probably won't be getting Sparking Zero, though I do wish I did care about Dragon Ball, because this seems like an absolutely magical experience to have for any Dragon Ball fan. But honestly, I'm just glad that it's out here and embarrassing Mortal Kombat 1, because Ed Boon and NetherRealm Studios need to get their act together, because I will be damn pissed if they screw up Injustice 3 as bad as they screwed up Injustice 2 and Mortal Kombat 1, because Injustice is an even more enjoyable franchise given the weight of DC behind it. But that's pretty much all I've got for today. Let me know, are you getting Sparking Zero? Did you play Khaos Reigns? What do you think of those two games? Are you looking forward to Injustice 3? Just let me know your thoughts on all these different fighting game stories and the absolute mess that these games are in and how it's absolutely reflective of the DEI nonsense we've been getting. But that's pretty much all I've got. So hit subscribe and hit the like button, and I will see you guys on the next one.